There we go. Oh, hello there. I'm teetotaling tonight. Cheers. Welcome to another director's commentary. I have been a little bit confused about the commentaries I've been doing for Survivorman Bigfoot, and I had to go back and sort of go through the playlists and everything on this YouTube channel and say, which ones did I actually do already? Because some of them I did like a year ago. And I think I did one or two of them like twice. So whatever, maybe there was new information. I'm not sure. But I think I uncovered the final three that I have not yet done, starting with this one, which is in the Rocky Mountain foothills. And I think this might actually be the first one that I did when I had met the Bigfoot researcher, Todd Standing, of infamy for some of you people. Anyway, I'm excited to get into this and do these last three for you. If you are not aware, I have this Kickstarter campaign going. Now, yes, we've reached the goal and the timing has ended, but you can still pledge, which means you can still become part of joining me with the production of my film, The Question of Bigfoot. I'm taking all year to produce this film, and it's very, very exciting. There's a lot of different rewards you can tap into there. I can't remember which ones we have on there as late pledges, most of them, I think. But you can certainly go in and do what they call late pledges and join the party. Even if you pledge $1, you then get the emails and the notifications. And by the way, for those of you who are already on there, there's going to be some special draws coming up. So exclusive to those people who've joined on the Kickstarter campaign, there will be some special draws for some Survivorman gear. All of this has enabled me to create this new film called The Question of Bigfoot. You know what? Here, watch the promo.
This was scary, exhilarating, and makes you doubt everything you ever learned that's real and unreal.
Back in 2014, I began work on a 10-part documentary series on the subject of Bigfoot. It took me places I did not expect to go, and it gave me a perspective I did not expect to have. Well, it's been 10 years, and a lot of questions still remain. Join me and help me to answer the litany of questions hanging over the phenomenon known as Bigfoot.
Walking up, I could see that there was something there. As I got closer, it stood up.
I know there's something there. I'm a lot more leery when I go out. I mean, really leery.
And I seen this humongous arm reach right in.
One of the dogs got killed, twisted, and torn in two.
What the heck have I heard when I've been out in the wilderness on so many different occasions? When I want answers, I go after them. My new documentary film, The Question of Bigfoot, will attempt to answer all of the skeptics' burning questions. Why don't we see one on a trail cam? Where are the bones? Have they ever been hit by a car? Why haven't we captured one? Is there enough room out there in the wilderness for them to exist? Are they real or are they not? I can't do this without you. So take a look at all of the rewards within this Kickstarter campaign and help me to produce The Question of Bigfoot. Okay, look cool? Yes, it does. It's going to be good. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be real good. So please join me in this. Even if it's $1, join on so that you get the emails and the notifications that are exclusive to those people who are part of the Kickstarter campaign. Go to Kickstarter.com and look up The Question of Bigfoot. Or I'll ask there's no point in putting a link on the screen because you can't click on that. So I'll try to remember to put a link down in the description. Okay, moving forward for this year, 2025, I have just a small smattering of live concerts that I'll be doing in Ontario with my good friends at the Nature's Harmony Eco Lodge and also the Neat Cafe. So join my Bandcamp or get on my newsletter from the website, whatever it takes to just stay in touch with me, and you'll see where I'm going to be doing these things. And then I have a concert down in Oregon, in Grants Pass, Oregon on April, that's the first concert I think, April 25th, 26th, which is going to be an acoustic rendition of my Mother Earth live production, which I'm building up for a very big concert coming soon, which I will tell you about. But this is like the acoustic rendition. So it's really just me and my acoustic guitar, although I have just got the participation of a world-class percussionist. I mean, this dude has played with everybody from the Stones to John Denver, and he's going to be joining me. And I'm not sure who else is going to be joining me, but it's going to be at the Hive, downtown Grants Pass, Oregon, April 25th, 26th, and I'm going to be filming it for a public TV special. As well as the big concert announcement that will be coming later. And those things are predicated on the fact that Mother Earth album is out, and so all newly remastered, remastered for the vinyl, mostly just remastered, actually, some remixed. Also, my new album that I'm producing right now, again with the legendary producer Mike Klink. We are in the studios, we are doing overdubs, it's my new rock album. And tentatively titled Leaving It All Behind at the moment, because that's one of the songs that's on it. But before that happens, my new Roots acoustic album will be coming out very soon, I believe in May. And it's also tentatively titled Mother Nature's Son. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. It's either that or Cold as the River. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's my Roots acoustic stuff. It's produced by Colin Linden, got a guest appearance by Bruce Coburn, and I'm very proud of this. I love going between the two different genres of music. My Roots acoustic folky stuff, then through that into my gnarly blues stuff, which that's further down the line, and then up to my rock and even progressive rock type material like that's on the Mother Earth album that I'm sure at this point Luke has put across the screen. And if he hasn't, he can do it right now. Here, watch. My hand will magically bring in the Mother Earth album. Look at that. That's the album. You can get everything on my website. As you know, there'll be a commercial later for this kind of stuff from me. But in the meantime, that's what's happening this year. More of the YouTube stuff, like this director's commentary, 2 brand new albums, some live gigs. Hopefully, my new children's book will finally be illustrated. Eric, if you're listening, I'm really looking forward to launching that. And, of course, I will be working all this time in production on The Question of Bigfoot, the new film. All right, shall we get watching this one? Here I am in the Rocky Mountains. This is early on in the game. Survivorman Bigfoot. I have not seen this film probably in 10 years, so I'll be getting some surprises with you. Shall we watch? Let's go.
Here I am again, out in the middle of Alberta, on a mission. Actually, it's not so much of a mission as it is a quest. A quest for answers, solutions, a quest for understanding. Although I'm not looking...
Just pause that right there. You see it says Less Cam 1. And that is, actually that's the, what do they call it, Ensonics? I can't remember the name of that audio pack on the top. The audio, you know, in filmmaking, I'm digressing, but in filmmaking, I try to tell guys all the time, whatever you do, get killer audio. Bad audio will kill a bad shot, a good shot. Like a great shot can be killed by bad audio, but a bad shot can be saved by good audio. So you got to have great audio, and that is actually the stuff that they use on Broadway. That pack on top there, you can see the logo. I don't know. Maybe Luke can put what the brand is, or someone will notice it and put it in the commentary. Can't remember that brand. Lectrosonic. Lectrosonic, maybe. Anyway, they use them for stage. They're such good quality. Really important. It says Less Cam 1 because I think this camera probably earlier had been maybe on a Survivorman episode that I shot with my son. So we had Logan Cam 1, Less Cam 1, Logan Cam 2, Less Cam 2. We did that in Mongolia as well. But anyway, I've got so many cameras kicking around, and over the years, I've beaten up so many cameras. This looks like I was in a Canon phase, judging by that battery. Went from Canon to Sony to Canon to back to Sony. It sort of jumped around, usually just between those two. Started out with Olympus and JVC, Panasonic, but over the years mostly landed on Sonys and Canons back and forth. Which one would win out the year? I would go down, I've told this story before, I would go down to Vistech in Toronto with Max Atwood, the cameraman, and we would just pour over the new cameras that were appropriate to filming Survivorman. I can't film with a big whole shoulder mount. I mean, I could probably make it work now with a A7S III, which is what I'm being filmed with right here, as you can see on that camera. And but otherwise, I would just constantly use the super high-end, but super high-end consumer cameras. They were just easier to work with in the field. They were either bomb-proof or they were inexpensive enough that if I beat one up, it didn't matter so much. All right, shall we get into it? Little filmmaker talk there for you.
For some sort of golden chalice or a holy grail. I'm actually trying to put together the pieces of a puzzle. A piece of the puzzle is out here. Puzzle is Bigfoot.
And one by one, I'm attempting to put the pieces of the puzzle together until the picture becomes clear. I remain firm on the fence between skepticism and acceptance. A survivor man, my journeys have taken me across the globe, and I've sought to touch the earth, to learn from it, and teach how to survive as humans, not apart and separate from it as we are now, but connected to it. And it would seem that the myth, the legend, or the fact of Bigfoot symbolizes the power of nature. Perhaps. So this might be like possibly the very first time that I had met Standing, and so you can hear even in my verbiage, you know, I'm hovering between, you know, skeptic and just learning all this new stuff. This is before you know, things got a little crazy in this year, and we'll learn more about that in some of the upcoming videos. But at this moment right now, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm looking for, and I can say that in the journey of learning about Bigfoot, I will say at this point, I'm looking for a big smart ape. That's what I'm looking for. You read some books. Back in this time, there weren't really podcasts. They were in their infancy. So you don't have a lot to go on, you know, and that's where I was at. This is right in my early phases. I guess what I'm looking for is some forgiveness because I was about to learn a bunch of crap. Perhaps that's why it seems to be becoming more important. If Bigfoot is just a myth or is real and disappears, what does that say about our connection to the earth itself? So I'm here in Alberta, Canada, with one of the most controversial Sasquatch researchers in the field. Before I say the name Todd Standing, just love the colorization going on here. Barry Farrell, you know, all of the software and the apps and different things became so powerful over the years. A lot of times in editing, things you used to have to send away for, you could learn how to do. And then there became plugins. We just plug it in, boom, good to go. But Barry Farrell and the editing team, they still took it next level.
Well, one thing I've always been a fan of is palette, and that's one thing that I wanted to make sure that Survivorman had is every episode was a palette, and that palette was musical and it was also color, and just the style of how you of how things would do. Like the darker something would be, it would be you know it would be like a film noir type of feel to it. So we would apply that type of sensibility to how it was edited and how the camera would move or not move. Certain other things like here's a good example is it was the first time we did this, but the Arctic, we used split screen through the two cameras rolling through an entire take through a whole scene without having cuts or very few cuts in it. And we also toned it down because it was such a harsh environment. We toned the blacks way up. We moved the blacks way up so they were almost like a gray tone rather than it being any harsh black. There's no contrast in that film, and it really shone out, especially when you had certain brighter colors where every time you stayed somewhere, there was a lot of red. Like you had a red canoe, then you had red barrels when you stayed in the barrels. The salmon was red, so there was this stark, cold, very flat-looking environment mixed with these warm colors of red that were in and around where you were staying. And they're all really subtle, and it sounds really hokey when you talk about it, but it does work because you don't need to tell people about it. They feel it. You can feel that that's sort of happening, and it worked out really well. And when Max shot all those amazing time lapses with the icebergs moving and flowing, and they had their own feel to them as well, because they were like these stark blue ice cubes that sort of came into the mix. And it's sort of that with the sun, the sun never set, so it would just run around in a circle. And all these elements became tools to help develop the story and to show, what you were going through hell during that.
Todd Standing. The phenomenon of Sasquatch is often as much about the people who advocate its existence as it is about the creature itself.
It's not so much that I'm out here thinking, I want to go find Bigfoot. Not at all. I want to get to the truth of thousands of tracks and people saying they saw this or saw that, heard this or heard that. Well, this is like my home out here. This is the wilderness. I want to know what else is living in my home. And the way to find this out, the way to get in deeper, just as if I were to go in and to film woodland caribou, I used to consult the biologists who study caribou. Well, it's the same thing here for this phenomenon that we call Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I don't even know if they exist yet, but there are people who claim that they do. And if they're going to bring me into these places, I've got to respect their wishes on how they do things. Here, Todd Standing likes to put apples up on trees, swears that they come in, they take them, and they leave. And that's what makes it fascinating.
And that's all new to me at this point in the game. Apples on trees, really? And of course, you can imagine what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, well, sure, every bear in the vicinity is going to eat those apples, or raccoons, or weasels, who knows, all sorts of squirrels. So that's what I'm thinking, So again, this is like great, early grade level learning about Bigfoot is, oh, you put apples on trees? Really? All right.
Basic science states that given a specific set of circumstances, different observers can witness the same outcome. As far as tracks go, once wildlife is ruled out, either they're a hoax or Bigfoot made them. It can't be both.
And that's something we'll be seriously addressing in the question of Bigfoot, is the question of hoaxes. Because either it is or it isn't.
See up there right below that log, see there's little bits of debris on that stick? That's where the high apple was that they got to.
All right, did you put one up higher?
No, that's as high as I got.
Well, then why is there an apple way up there?
What do you mean? Where? What the hell's
You see it?
Never would have thought to look up for apples.
You don't recall trying to throw it there?
There's no way I did that. There's no way.
Huh.
So, yeah, I don't know.
It couldn't have been thrown.
There's no way.
That would have taken a long time to throw that. That's kind of freaky.
That's really weird, yeah.
Todd seems genuinely surprised that one of the apples put out as bait or gift was removed from the lower position on the tree and placed at least 10 feet higher. An extremely suspect maneuver for any known animal, for sure. Todd claims the Bigfoot activity in this area has slowed and almost stopped. He has suspicions as to why, and it'll take a few days before he admits to me what he's thinking. I'll remain attuned to the slippery slope of the power of suggestion. All the advocates of Bigfoot have to be held to a high standard of proof.
Oh yeah, from this angle it sure looks a lot more like one. It's really interesting. It's almost like the two toes spread apart.
Yeah. Because this clump is still here, and it didn't fall there, it's there.
The thing about all of this research is how much of this is based on hoaxes and fakes. And that's what a lot of the skeptical people would claim, is that it's all just faked. What I know is this: there's facts and there's theories. The fact of the matter is there is an indentation in the ground here. It looks like it could be sort of humanoid, but somewhat different. It's a theory that it was caused by something other than my host in this area, which is Todd Standing. And that's the way I have to treat every single thing out here, everywhere I go. The fact and the theory of what it means.
The fact is, there are thousands of tracks found all over North America, every single year, of varying sizes and dimensions, yet all with very similar repeatable features. The theory of the skeptic is they're all hoaxes, and I do mean all of them. Because if even just one of these tracks is made by a Bigfoot, well, that's all that's needed for the advocates to say they exist, they're real. We have the footprints, so we need to find the footprint maker.
Now, these examples are actually common around the west coast of Canada, and they're just a bizarre...
Before I let this go on to the upside down tree, that's a great point to always remember. Something is making big tracks that look like 18 or 20-inch human feet. Something is. Either it's all a hoax or it's something else. Either it is or it isn't, you know. But the fact is there are tracks. There are physical indentations in the ground that people can cast, and you bring up that cast, and Luke maybe show an image of me with one of my casts, and you bring that up, and something made it. And it's either a hoax, fake. It was either faked made or real made, but real made by what?
Potential example of Sasquatch activity. We've got this tree that's clearly upside down and shoved down into the earth. And if I come here and I look down, that's old down there. It's not fresh. Nobody's been here in the last week. My suggestion, if you wanted to hoax this, you have a gas-powered auger, you aug your hole, you pick up a tree like this, you pop it in, fill it in, you're done. But the thing is, there's old moss down here. This thing has been here a long, long time. And so I am going to rule out human hoaxing on this one right away. What else could it be? Could it be industry, logging, or roads people? Well, the question has to be asked, why? Why bother? Because it was done years ago. Why bother? Is it a marker for something? As humans, we don't make things like this as markers. We put them in nice and perfect, and the thin part would be at the top, the fat part down in the ground, would be chopped off properly. You'd see hammer marks to hammer it down. This is just an upside-down tree shoved down deep into the ground. And they occur like this in random places throughout, potentially North America. I know in Canada for sure. It's claimed that these are markers set out by Sasquatch. What they mark, what they mean, who knows?
They do freak me out every time I see them. I'm still freaked out by them. And I've not heard a good explanation as to loggers or road builders or trappers or anything like that. I know them all those dudes, and there's no explanation that it comes from what they've done. And the power that it would take for that to be put in the ground is immense, and it still kind of freaks me out. What's interesting is that if there is a species such as Sasquatch, and we have to allow for some kind of intelligence, then we can probably allow for communication. Are these markers of communication? I don't know.
So what is it, and why is it here? These ones are hard to explain.
The increasing regularity and reoccurrence of phenomena like this are exciting Sasquatch advocates and baffling any scientist that'll give the theory of Sasquatch even a single moment of interest. Things are happening and being found in nature that wildlife biology is having a hard time explaining. That is, without including Sasquatch.
You know, of all the people who spend time in the wilderness, trappers probably have the reputation of being those individuals that can lay claim to being out here more than anyone else. They have a wide variety of experiences from...
That's true. I mean, I used to trap, and all the old trappers that I knew, I mean, trappers do more time in the wilderness than anyone I can think of, far and away. Loggers, miners, fishermen, anglers, hunters, trappers. Trappers are in the woods more than anyone.
Dealing with major large predators, and so it's often trappers that lay claim to having seen Sasquatch. It's thought that perhaps some of the signs that are here were signs that Sasquatch had made markings for those trappers. In other words, you're okay over here, but don't come over here. You're okay over there, but don't come over this way. And this is one of the traps left behind. This is an old trap. It's been left for a long time.
That's probably that'd be a marten trap. That's an interesting part of all of this too that just keeps coming up now is, you know, the communication side of the Sasquatch phenomenon. Things they do to the forest to make notice of, this area is okay for you to come. I don't want you coming past this spot. That's the conjecture that's going on when people find really oddly bent, twisted, broken trees.
This particular location is rumored to have some trappers that ran this line for a long time and not only claim to have seen Sasquatch, but claim to have seen them many times. And eventually, so the story goes, they were scared out of this area. They said they just didn't want to come back anymore. They couldn't handle seeing the Sasquatch. It got too close.
According to Todd, and through a third-party taxidermist who knew the trappers well, they said that just a few years ago, the Sasquatch were stealing from their traps. Claims of interaction with Bigfoot that include damaging property, rummaging through food supplies, and even within close proximity to civilization, exist by the hundred. To prove or disprove Bigfoot, what is needed is a systematic study of evidence, not just anecdotal references. And the high-tech surveillance gear is getting smaller, cheaper, and better all the time.
And I'll come back to that probably a lot. One of the issues back then I was saying, and even I would argue with Todd, I would argue with him, you have to keep track of all this data. You can't, because a lot of these researchers, they just tell you, oh, this happened or that happened. When, where, what time of year, what was the weather like, how often, what. You've got to, people who are out there researching this kind of phenomenon, doesn't do any good to do at all just to keep it all anecdotal. It's just citizen science anyway. It's not real scientific research. So you need data. You walk into a court case with a real thick binder, you usually win the court case. Trust me, my binder from my divorce wasn't very thick. You've got to keep data. You've got to keep record of everything. And back then, people weren't doing that. Now, in the 10 years since I did this series, it's gotten much, much better with people like Scott Tompkins and the Bigfoot Mapping Project, but it's just gotten a lot better at people making note of all the information about their research into this phenomenon.
This is the vanguard of technical research on Sasquatch.
Okay, so these guys right here are little infrared trail cams, the same type that everybody uses to try to get pictures of deer or bear or whatever, and a lot are using to try to get shots of Sasquatch. Now, here's the thing. It's just been proven recently that caribou can see ultraviolet light. And it's thought that perhaps Sasquatch can pick up infrared light. That's why they shy away from all trail cams. They just sort of, no way, they see the light. It's a problem with that. These things are not triggered to go off until there's motion in front of them. And once there's motion in front of them, they'll go off. So there is no infrared light while they're hidden or strapped to a tree. The other explanation is that this is their home, and they're the ultimate, most experienced tracker, escape and evasionist that you could possibly imagine, and this is their home. Potentially, they can see the tracks leading up to this. So what we've been doing in putting ours up, it walks straight in and straight out again, and hide it, place it, and then go around and walk everywhere all around. Why? So that there's no attention brought to the buried camera. Nonetheless, giving it a shot.
So interesting there, because what I'm really saying we're doing is we're treating it very much like it's really just a simple animal. It can't be a simple animal. In the question of Bigfoot, I will definitely be addressing a lot about trail cams. So I don't want to get into it too much here right now, but in this stage of the game where I was, you're doing it like, how do you fool a bear sort of thing, is really how we're placing these cameras out there.
On my perch between skepticism and acceptance, I need to do all I can to prove out or disprove the claims of existence of a large, hairy, intelligent being. It must be noted that there is a huge contradiction we are contending with. We have a 10-foot tall walking creature that we can't find.
All right, I'm attempting to get video footage of what is reported to be the most elusive, highly skilled creature on the planet when it comes to existence in the wilderness. I'm still human, and out here at night in the dark, my senses are weak, even pathetic. So I need to keep increasing my chances of seeing something out there. And there are a lot of different ways to do that, so I'm gonna just perform a little bit of a test. Now, right now, you're watching me in the dark, and there's an infrared light. And if I put my hand in front of it, see that? That's on my camera, all right? And you can see me because I'm really close. I'm about 1.5 feet from the actual camera lens. What do I do for something that's hundreds of yards away? And for that, I've got this baby right here. Now watch him behind me. Look at that. So that's infrared technology. My camera is set to a mode that will pick that up, and this has very long reach, much bigger reach than the one you're watching right now. Lastly is thermal imaging. And this is one of the things that a lot of Bigfoot researchers feel is one of the strongest ways to capture a Bigfoot on film at night in the woods, lurking in.
I actually have that camera still. In fact, I took it out last weekend. I went up to, as part of the question of Bigfoot, I actually went up and met Tom Powell. And I did not end up using it, but I do have it, and I'll be bringing it out this year for sure, is this FLIR infrared camera. I should actually, I'll probably upgrade it before we get going. But
In the shadows. So what I'm going to do right now is a little experiment. I'm going to head out myself into the woods, 200 yards or so, and I'm going to basically creep from tree to tree, run across the opening, hide behind a little mound, and just have all of this, we'll call it stealth camera equipment, pick me up. I'll see how this turns out. Of course, I already have the creep factor because now I got to walk a couple of 100 yards off into the woods here. Well, actually, where I'm walking is exactly where last year we had wood knocks and movement. And at the time, we thought that it may very well have been 3 Sasquatch that have come in. And now I'm kind of going up here by myself. It's always creepy, no matter what.
interesting, I said last year, so this must not be the very first time that I've worked with Todd. This must be potentially the last time.
These images of me walking without looking through the camera viewfinder as you are now are taking place in pitch black. There's no standard flashlight being used. On the left side is the infrared technology, and on the right, the thermal camera set to black for heat. So everything you see that is black is a heat signature. You can tell that even the trees still have heat within them.
Now I'm just gonna walk straight to the camp. See if they can pick me up.
I actually can't see the cameras filming me in the dark, and hopefully, neither can any other creature out here.
All right, so that brings me back within about 30 yards here. And that is utilizing all these different methods to detect what might be out there. But the first thing that has to happen before any of this work happens by me is I have to hear something in the first place. Without activity, none of this technology is going to do me any good anyway. But with activity, it could be incredible.
Can't say that these toys aren't fun to play with, because they kind of are. You know what? Let me see if I can adjust the ISO here. Just because it looks like it's getting a little dark. I better go up. F-stops. Okay, that should be all right. It is a lot of fun working with all of this different technology. And well, I'll just leave it at that. It's fun. Toys for boys. And I've got cameras set up pointing back at the tent, and I can monitor them from here on the inside. If so something is coming around the tent, I'll be able to film it and see what's going on while I'm in the tent, which is really creepy, actually, when you take a look here. I've got to admit that this area feels different this time. I was here with Todd Standing before, and very active. Little hoops and stick breaks and tree knocks and whistles and potential tracks and all sorts of things. But this time it just feels kind of dead, quiet, nothing. And Todd is also saying the same thing. It's like it just all stopped. And there may be a juvenile that's coming and hanging around, more likely in the day. That's an interesting thing, by the way, that Todd, who has a controversial placement in all of this. Some people can't stand him and don't believe a word that he says. Other people are devoted to what he has to say. But I have to hand it to him in this situation. You know, it didn't feel to me like he was trying to, you know, pull a rabbit out of a hat and say, oh, that was, or this was, or that was. He agreed with me. Nothing was going on. And so at least that kind of admission helps in accepting other things that he might have to say. Because Bigfoot researchers tend to get pretty zealous.
What Todd feels he's experiencing, including seeing potential tracks. But the big group seems to be gone. What happened to the group of Sasquatch that were coming around that Todd was getting all this activity with? What happened to those? I want to get to the explanation. I want to find out why the activity just stopped. And Todd may have a bit of a sinister explanation as to why everything just dropped off after the spring. We'll get to it.
Leaving it on a cliffhanger, I forgot that this is where this story was told. Stay tuned.
We had zero activity last night, and I knew Todd standing to be extremely confident and enthusiastic to the point of zealousness about his evidence of Sasquatch and his ability to invoke interactions with a species he claims is real. So it was a shock to me that this time he's expressing mostly frustration and dismay that the Bigfoot activity here has almost stopped altogether.
Because the activity's down to a minimum at this point, what we want to do is head out for a bit of an extensive hike today, off into the area where it's thought that Sasquatch did not want the local trappers to go. But we're heading off into this area for the very purpose of stirring up trouble, in a way. And if indeed Todd is right and there's only one juvenile hanging around at the moment, then even this is a way of reaching out to him. It's just sort of kind of reminding him that we're here and saying, come on down and, you know, mess with us a little bit at night. And that's the thing about researching Sasquatch. There's a lot of methods to it, but by far the most favored is one where you entice them to come to you, because these are the greatest trackers in the wilderness, and to think that we can stealthily sneak up on them is a fool's game. So Todd's been successful at bringing them to him down into the camp.
As have a lot of other researchers as well. That's always going to be a big point is come on down, hon. Is that in the end, this is not something you can invoke. You can't go out there and you can't hunt them down like you're hunting down a black bear or something like that. Just doesn't work that way. There's a whole other methodology, and it involves a lot of time and a lot of effort out in the woods to see if something's going to happen. It's got to come to you. Hi. My wife's home. Hang on, I got to kiss my wife hello, and then we'll get right back into this. Hey everyone, allow me to interrupt myself. I don't really like hawking merchandise and swag, but you guys do ask all the time where you can get certain items. For example, check this out, Hennessy hammock. I put a lot of time and effort into designing this hammock with Hennessy. It's their top hammock. It's an amazing, beautiful, comfortable hammock to enjoy for all of your adventures out there, so just check it out. It's got a full-size tarp, which was a big thing for me. It's got insulation, and I love it. So I've got the Hennessy hammocks. Of course, for years I've been in a phenomenal relationship with Hella of Norway, Hella Knives. And this is our signature knife, of course, the Tamagami. These knives are handmade. In fact, I've been there to this very ancient factory where I don't know how many, it's well over 100 years that they've been operating, and every single handle is handmade. All of the grinding, everything is done by hand. And these knives are absolutely beautiful. I also now have a brand new relationship, and you will see these items, new foraging tools that I'm designing with LT Wright Knives out of Ohio. And also, Chef Paul Rogalski of Wild Harvest has the signature Chef Paul Rogalski kitchen knife collection. Those are a big thrill to me, to have these beautiful items that we spent years designing, and I still have them available for you. However, if you want to go more the route of just enjoying the Survivorman legacy, if you will, then of course, go to my website, lestroud.ca, go to the shop page. Right there, you've got everything. All the swag, all the merch, such as my manual on survival. This is if you want to get into survival, this book is meant to be a way to walk you through step by step, because I deal a lot more with concepts than I do with specifics, because that's really important. Once you understand the concepts of fire by friction, for example, you can do it depending on where you are, because I can't give you the advice on how to do it here in Canada and hope that it's also going to work down in the jungle. Things are different. So I've always been very proud of this book, Survive. So that is my survival manual. Also, if you weren't aware, I've got the book Will to Live. I wrote this book well, it's kind of for a lot of fun. I took my 10 favorite survival stories, such as Chris McCandless Into the Wild or the Robertson family and the life raft, and I basically dissect them with this book. I tear apart the story, I go through everything, and I even give them a little bit of a grade on how I thought they did. So I really enjoyed writing this book. It's a real easy read, it's a fast read, but I think there's a lot of insight there for you into all of these different examples of people who have either survived or perished. Speaking of books, so honored, so thrilled, so proud that Wild Outside, my first children's book, has won the Yellow Cedar Award, Best Nonfiction Children's Book in Canada for ages 7 to 14. I tell stories from Survivorman, lessons learned during those expeditions and adventures, and there are even activities they can do in the out of doors. So there you go. My new book, my children's book, Wild Outside, Around the World with Survivorman, has just won the Yellow Cedar Award, and I'm up for another award yet. And in keeping with stuff that's going on right now, we are also up for an award for our Season 1 recipe book from the series Wild Harvest. And if you've never caught the series Wild Harvest, check this out.
Hey Les!
Gotta watch the whales!
Oh my gosh! This perhaps is the most incredible kitchen scenario I've ever had.
Can you create a dish where the domestic ingredients don't overshadow the wild ingredients?
This dish is a showcase of how great these foraged ingredients come together.
It's the best when it's its own flavor. When you're making something with a wild edible, you're nailing it and not losing the wild flavor. Tell me that doesn't look awesome. 2 seasons right now, 26 episodes. In the United States, it's on PBS stations. You can also get it on this YouTube channel. In Canada, Cottage Life TV. In Sweden and Norway, on Matt Cannellan. It's on National Geographic. Asia, which includes China and India. So my Wild Harvest series is playing around the world now, and we, with every single season, create a recipe book based on the recipes that we show you in the actual shows themselves. So that's Wild Harvest. And of course, if you want the DVD, you can get that on this website as well, lestroud.ca. And let's not forget too, that I'm a musician. The CDs themselves are available on the website. The next release will be the re-release of the Mother Earth album on vinyl. But go on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, or on my website. You can go to the shop page, you can pick up all of my CDs. So this is the last one. This is my 20th anniversary selection. Check it out. Every film I've ever made, 76 films in all of the Survivorman, Bigfoot, Beyond Survival, music documentaries, one-off films such as the award-winning La Loche about the school shooting up in Canada and a healing canoe trip. This is my 20th anniversary, 76 films. And people that have picked this up have raved about it. And I'm really proud that I can say I've got 20 years of anything, to be honest with you. That's available for you as well on that Les Stroud shop page. Okay, that's me hawking my stuff. Back to the video. Everybody, well, that was a long respite after Caroline came home. It is now the next morning. And so this time I join you with a cup of coffee. One of the last few coffees I'll have. Coffee doesn't treat me always that nice. Actually, I'm going pretty clean this year. Cut back to damn near zero when it comes to alcohol, certainly, and sugar, a lot of gluten, and much more training again. Feel great, feel better. But for me, that also includes usually getting rid of coffee. I know I love coffee, but it doesn't love me. So I'll minimize it to like my favorite cappuccino, 1 per week kind of thing. Let's see. Where are we? Well, let's get right back into this. It is morning, and guess I'm just ready to go. Canada, in case you didn't notice. All right, here we go. Let's pick it up where we left off.
Camp. But again, without a lot of activity, this is an exercise to just stir it up a little bit, get them interested in us. Yeah, there's clearly, again, indentations in the ground here. I mean, that's the fact. The fact is we've got indentations in the ground that look, you know, suspiciously humanoid, large, heavy, toe holes. What's fascinating.
The tricky part about this is as I walk around now, you know, I'm always looking around, looking down on the ground, looking for signs of this or that, anything, signs of elk, I don't care. And I don't just see, you know, large human-shaped prints everywhere I go. It's like, oh, those are just the natural depressions from this or from that or the other animals, bears, for example. And so here you are in a situation, you have to put the picture together. You're in a place where it's supposed to be or rumored to be, you know, active with this said species, and certainly according to Todd standing in this situation. And then you see all these tracks and stuff. Now, of course, Todd could have faked them. That's absolutely true. Or not, right? But either way, they're there.
To me is this particular track has what I would describe as almost like a gap between the big toe and the rest of the toes, which is exactly what I saw back at base camp. The same thing. It seemed like it was a splayed sort of toe situation. So who knows? Family trait, maybe the same individual, maybe the same individual getting a little bit bigger in life. Who knows? Here's the big toe here, and then the splayed rest of the toes here. Tramp down. If you look here, these berries are all squashed, and it would take a lot of power to squish berries into the soft ground. If I step on berries right now, I'm not going to actually squish them in the ground. They're going to go into the pad of the moss. But here, these berries are squished, which doesn't make sense. Squished berries doesn't make sense unless something very heavy stepped here.
Encounters happen and tracks are found. But is the interpretation of them correct?
Now, what's significant about this particular track?
I've mentioned this before in the director's commentaries. You can notice my tracks are found. Indentations, the indentations happen. You know, my voice is all like, I'm a little melodramatic in this, I think. But because of the subject matter, I wanted to change my voice. You know, with Survivorman, I was a lot straighter and sort of, you know, I was going for the kind of Clint Eastwood-y kind of feel for Survivorman. But for Bigfoot, I wanted to be a little more, what is going on here? So I wanted to soften things down. And then again, worked on my voice a little bit for narration for the series Beyond Survival, which if you have not seen the series Beyond Survival, man, you really should check it out. It's in the playlists here. In fact, Luke, go ahead and show them a promo of that. It's still the film work that I am the most proud of in my entire career, where I went off and spent a lot of time surviving with remote indigenous cultures. But in any event, yeah, I changed my voice. That's on purpose. It's just filmmaking. It's just creative decisions at the time. Same thing with the scripting. You know, I'm very honored and thrilled that, you know, I've been nominated for 31 Canadian Screen Awards, and I've won 4, and 2 of them that I've won were both for writing. including, I think, writing for Bigfoot, which is interesting because, you know, I would take care. What am I saying here? How am I saying it? Can I be somewhat poetic with all of it? You know, these things matter when you're a filmmaker. Here I go back into the filmmaking advice thing, a category again, but you know, it matters. You've got to. I never want to dupe an audience. I never want to, but I also never want to think of an audience as stupid. I don't think of you guys as stupid. I think of my audience as having the ability to engage in critical thinking, and if you can't, I don't need you as an audience. So when I filmmake, I think that you're the ones who are watching my film work, and you can sense and see and notice the nuances that I put into the filmmaking that I do. Okay, enough of that rant.
Is that we found it at the base of a very old tree break. The tree break phenomenon is, again, something not necessarily unique to this area, but definitely prolific in this area. Then you get that interesting thing again where people 1,000 miles from here have the tree break phenomenon. So is it natural? Well, if this was the only one, it's natural. But you find them over and over and over again, and you find them lined up. They'll be bent in the direction, often, of man-made interference in the bush, a trail, a trapper's trail, a cut survey line. And really, I think Todd's theory, his hypothesis on this is that every time they're pointing at the trail because they're saying, okay, fine, you stay over there, you can be over there, but don't come this way.
And I'm not here to promote Todd Standing and his theories or to defend him in any way, shape, or form, or to attack him in any way, shape, or form. I know that those of you who are into this phenomenon have definite opinions about the various people who research Bigfoot and write books and do films, and Todd is one of them. And there's a whole slew of people, and some of them are amazing, from your Ron Moorheads and your Stacey Browns and Tom Powells and Jeff Meldrums, and rest in peace, John Bindernagel and Sonia Zohar. My friend Randy Breeson up in Canada, David Politis with his 411 books. On it goes, and I apologize to those people who I'm not mentioning. You know, new friends in my situation, such as Scott Tompkins. And oh boy, now I'm down that. It's like thanking somebody at the Academy Awards. You don't want to leave anybody out. You know, Tim Halloran and his work with Bigfoot, his book in Bigfoot Influencers. You know, there's just this whole collection. Like, there's way more people who are into this than you think in a real serious way. Then you have the organizations all throughout North America. There are organizations. I've just met some guys up in Canada, Sasquatch. Oh, sorry, guys. Anyway, there's groups everywhere. And people in it everywhere, and so opinions, and you've got a whole gradient of personalities there. Yeah, and some of them are hard to handle, and some of them are wonderful people. So think what you may. I'm just a guy with a camera trying to figure this stuff out, and I have to admit, again, not in defense of Todd Standing, but I have to admit, a lot of the stuff that he would say to me while I was out there was like, oh, really, that's something really to think about, you know, and I can look and see. I'm looking at tree breaks that are all lined up in a particular order. And yeah, there's writing things off through weather. Absolutely, snow and so on. But I've been noticing weather in wilderness since I was a young child. And there are other things that just are not natural to weather phenomenon. That's when things get interesting.
What I want to do is I want to break it my height. Okay. So we do one like this, and I'll do one pointing the other way, which creates an avenue of confusion, right? It's almost really, in a way, like you challenging them. I hate to say it, but let's try it. There we go. One way, one the other. It's got to tick off somebody. This is creating a disturbance, and it's making a statement. I have no idea what statement it's making, but it's making a statement. If you go by Todd's theory, then it's me saying, you know what? It's almost like I'm saying, this is my area. And if there's anything here with dominance and an alpha, a sense of being an alpha, it's not going to like that.
And a lot of this stuff, you know, from people like Todd, or many, many others. Kelly from Utah. it's like you're out there, you're noticing all kinds of things, and your mind is flowing through this data, and we are surmising. That's all we're doing. None of this, and that's one of the problems, is none of this is scientific research. It's all just anecdotal citizen science at best. And so I point back to the need for constant data collection. You got to be into this if you're going to get into it. You can't go out 4 times and make a bunch of conclusions and say, well, they do this and they do that. And that's one of the big problems, is a lot of people just say, well, this is what they do. It's like, you don't know that, and how much time have you spent out there? In Todd's defense, he spent thousands and thousands. He's probably done his 10,000 hours out there. That's a lot, maybe that's exaggerating, but he's certainly done an incredible amount of time out there. And that, to me, is what matters. Again, I'm not defending any of these Bigfoot researchers and their claims.
And was going to dispute that.
If the broken trees are not from natural rot or snow, or made by someone doing an elaborate hoax, and they are indeed made by some kind of large, hairy humanoid species, and my actions of breaking them will do no more than amuse whatever creature might even pay attention. Or I just damaged 2 trees unnecessarily. What researchers like Todd are doing is spending thousands of hours in the wilderness, finding pieces of the puzzle and noticing consistencies.
All right, so here we have something of interest. Remember that I keep saying, what's normal in the forest? What do you see that's, what is the baseline? What looks normal? And when you spot something that's not normal, now you have something interesting. So here, there's something very normal here, okay? See the cut tree? That's likely. Trapper comes down here, sees a tree across his trail, cuts himself a place to drive his all-terrain vehicle through or whatever he's coming down with. Then, short span of time later, tree, not as old as that tree, knocked down right across the trail again. Really easy to say coincidence, okay? So a tree comes down, big deal that another tree comes down 10 feet away. Until you start coming to places where over and over again, you have human comes through, human clears away, and then right behind it, new trees come down, right there, right in that spot. It should be much more random. Let's suggest that this second tree down is a reaction to the first tree. Let's suggest that a Sasquatch has pushed it down. All right? If that's the case, look at the size of that thing. The amount of strength it would take to push a tree down that big is intense. Maybe the first one was put across in the first place. Maybe it was a keep out of here. Trapper doesn't notice it, just cuts on, keeps going through. Oh, I told you, stay out of here. Second tree comes down.
Determine.
It's an interesting theory. I mean, speaking as someone who has cleared hundreds of trails in his lifetime in the spring, what I find is if trees are going to come down on trails, yes, there are the singular random trees that come down over the winter. A lot of times, though, what will happen is there's a particular storm, and instead of 1 tree down, you get like 27 trees down. And anybody who does trail maintenance will tell you, and that's a rough one. You're just like, oh man, a storm must have come through, and man, you got to cut through all these trees to reopen up this trail. What this theory is alluding to is a more uniform and consistent blockage of trees. That's nuanced, requires a lot of time in the same areas. You got to pay attention to it. And I know in other videos, or at least in other episodes of this series, I deal with trees coming down in real time while you're there. And that, by the way, carried on for a long time post making this series with me. And even to this day, there are times. And it's intriguing, on days with 0 wind and all the rest of it. And that's one of the attributes of this phenomenon that people will talk about all the time is, and then a tree was pushed down. And notice the language I used, was pushed down. So that's very suggestive language. But when you're out there all the time paying attention to these things, there's a difference, even in the sound of a tree, between a tree falling down, wind, rot, it loses its footing in the ground, sort of thing, and a tree being pushed down. There's a difference in how that sounds. That's all I'm saying.
Learning how long ago each tree fell is an easy exercise with the right tracking and nature skills. But crafting a complete story around the events is still conjecture, or theory, or hypothesis, depending on how you choose to look at it. But isn't that how all fields of scientific research often begin? By noticing an emerging consistent story and then ruling out what it isn't to determine what it is. As the weather takes a bit of a turn, I continue on my search for evidence of Sasquatch and convince Todd to head off into the areas he had not yet explored, to push the envelope further into the field.
What we've done now is we split up, stand a few hundred yards apart, go down, and then very steep up.
This when I'm, filming anything, I always look for ways to have it be exciting for me, and I thought, let's just trek through the woods, man. Let's just bushwhack. It's one of my favorite things to do anyway. And as long as you're using, staying safe with it, and I highly recommend all of the avenues of safety, the most high-tech Garmin GPS units you can work with. And down here in Oregon, I work with CalTopo, and I even work with my Strava if CalTopo's not reaching, but Strava sometimes does, and back and forth, and Garmin and so on. It's my favorite thing, and I would do that with filming. And there you go, more filmmaking advice. If you're going to be filmmaking, if you're if you're going to get out there and you're filming your own adventures, or you're filming certain things, always make it so that you love what you're doing at the same time. Every Survivorman was filmed in a way that I knew I was going to enjoy being where I was. Very rarely did I go, okay, I guess I'll go shoot this there. Very rarely. And that's not good, because now I'm going to not necessarily phone it in, but I'm not going to be in my best place. So my whole life has been about how can I also really enjoy this while I'm doing it, whatever this is. To the smallest extent, by the way, nuanced. I spent the morning cleaning up the house. And while I did that, I put on an audiobook that I'm really interested in. So now I'm actually really doing mindless stuff, but my mind is focused on the audiobook. And I actually enjoy the 20 minutes or half an hour or 40 minutes it takes to clean up the house, because I'm listening to something that is really intriguing me. And I'm just giving you a little slice of philosophy of life there. And to that end, you know what, one of these times I said I would do this. I will go through my process. How do I put this? My process of life. And likely at some point do some filming about it. My routine, my daily routine, my strengthening routine, my exercise routine, everything that keeps me vibrant.
Just to keep me in a straight line, but man, that's steep over there. And we do have a system we're using so we don't lose each other. So if I whistle, he whistles back. So we stay in touch with each other that way. And of course, in this case, he's the only one with a gun. So if I come upon a big old cougar or angry bear, he's got the firepower I don't.
The reality is most people who claim to encounter a Bigfoot with a gun in their hands say they can't shoot, because it would be like shooting a human. My first mission is to continue to stir up the surrounding woods so that whatever's out there knows we're here. Another is to keep my eyes out for anything that is inconsistent.
And that's kind of a real intriguing point, is hundreds and hundreds of stories where guys just say, when I say hundreds and hundreds, is that true? How many? I suppose that might not be true. How about I say I have encountered and read about many stories where a hunter has a Sasquatch in his sights, will relate that story, will tell you the whole story, and just say, I couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger. It would be like I was shooting a human. That's interesting, really interesting, because a lot of big game hunters have no problem shooting a helpless elephant or giraffe or lion or bear, but when they see a Sasquatch, they can't pull the trigger. something to ponder.
Normal wildlife signs. And lastly, to get Todd Standing to push a little more beyond his limits of field research.
It's hard for you to see that, but beautiful mountains off in the distance. And I know that if I were a Sasquatch, I'd want to live here. Tough part about this area is food, sustenance, survival. When the berries are prolific, great. But before that happens, there's got to be some other food sources. And here it's likely to be elk and deer.
In the question of Bigfoot, we'll definitely be addressing exactly how they biologically exist, including what they eat and how.
Okay. It is windy, but not here so much. Trees are pretty still here. I'm hearing some cracking down there. It's impossible for Todd to have gone down there. You know what? Can't hurt.
I will also be addressing the concept of tree knocking and whooping. In the question of Bigfoot, and the issue I have with a lot of documentaries is they just scratch the surface. We're not going to scratch the surface. We're going to get to the bottom of things.
All right.
Which is another invitation to say, you should just pledge $1 and then you will get all of the information as to how that film is being created. In fact, while you're at it, sub to my music channel on YouTube, sub to this channel, and put that $1 in there and just become part of all of this. And jump on my bands in town so you know what's going on. Let's keep this party rocking.
All right. Well,
please.
If I'm playing the game, then if there's something there, it now knows that I know that it knows that I know that it's there.
Gotta love the music. I'm gonna guess that that's probably Ian and Richard. For Bigfoot, Ian Auger and Richard Jackson, a pair of composers I worked with and I still work with, especially Ian a lot. And I've worked with Ian as a musician for 27 years, I think, or something like that. And you team up your composer with the film that you're doing. Not every composer is gonna be able to do what you need for that film. Of course, I compose a lot of my own as well. I'll be composing all of the music for the question of Bigfoot because I can. But that's an important thing. You don't just, unfortunately for composers, you can't just use the same composer for all the films you do unless you're always doing the same kind of film. For Bigfoot, it was Ian and Richard worked out perfectly. For Beyond Survival, Peter Cleach was my main composer. For Survivorman, it was a slew of those guys and others. Once I got into doing Wild Harvest, again, Peter Cleach's music, because it was more gentle, flighty, acoustic, worked beautifully for Wild Harvest. So just something to consider. Don't use padded music. Never use padded music. I know I've taken some criticism for the Mother Earth video and the Life on Earth video because it began with AI. Now the artist that I'm working with, Michael Cotton, sorry I'm going on a tangent here, but he definitely, is an artist and has been for many, many years and uses the AI to then crafts with it and works with it quite a bit. Will I go back to that? Not likely. It was an experimentation, an experiment. But the bottom line is, I hugely always promote working with your local artists, especially though when it comes to music. Too often I hear about people padding music and it just drives me crazy. I should say using padded music. Use a composer.
Heck of a climb. Here's the thing. I keep going up this hill, and I hate to admit it, but I'm seeing step holes that are very large and big distances, even though it's going uphill. I can't manage the distance. And I just get right here. There's just so many like that. I mean, dozens of spots that have big sort of holes here.
And I should point out, you know, when it comes to wildlife, there's not a species in this part of the world that creates step holes that are spread out, you know, 5 feet, 6 feet. Bear do not spread they're just not big enough to do that. There's nothing big enough to make impressions that are spread out that far and wide.
I mean, they're covered in snow, but they're in the right place, and they're not the shape of multiple sheep and goats. I'm seeing those as well. These are the times in wilderness survival where no matter what I do, I'm going to sweat. Going uphill, no matter how slow I go, I'm gonna sweat. And you sweat. Oh, wait a minute.
Ah, my catchphrase. I always like to acknowledge where that comes from. I mean, originally it comes from my days of dog sledding, and it was something that Craig Lawrence and I used to say to each other all the time. Man, you look like you're sweating, man. You sweat, you die. You sweat, you die.
This is crazy. I didn't even notice. So looking back at you, did you see? Look at the scratches.
As I meet back up with Todd, I've spotted what I am convinced is likely deer or bear markings on a tree.
Yes.
Todd is convinced otherwise.
That's some serious, well, I'm saying bear, but that's a very big bear.
These bear claws are uniform.
Yeah.
This is, congratulations. We are near a day watcher spot.
Now, this is where the drama of working with varying individuals in the woods who are Bigfoot researchers gets in the way. They will say, no, I just know because of my experience and in doing all of this. But a lot of biologists would beg to differ in some of the things that they say. And this was one where I definitely disagreed with Standing.
Those are Sasquatch fingernails.
And I also want to point out something else that is really problematic, not just with Todd, but with a lot of people into this, and that is the use of terminology. Tom Powell and I both have the same disdain for the mystical, whimsical terminology that gets used, and calling it a day watcher. I mean, come on, man, this isn't a Hollywood movie. The day watcher being one that stays awake during the day to be a scout for everybody else. And then, or mind speak, they use mind speak. All of that stuff, it does not serve the interest someone might have in the phenomenon by coming up with flighty terms to describe things. At least I don't like it anyway.
Right.
Nothing does that. Look at this. A bear can't do that. Can't.
Not true. A bear can do that.
A bear's got 4 claws. He can't do that. Even look at these two. Look at the way they're scratched like that.
Yeah, but the tree is thin, and it doesn't mean it's all of his claws.
My fingers fit there perfectly.
All right. And there's a tree break and a structure there.
Wow. Gold mine jackpot.
Gold mine.
Gold mine jackpot.
Jackpot. This is where Todd's zealousness can get the better of him. I still think it's the rubbing from deer antlers. And he mentioned a day watcher spot. He has a theory that certain Bigfoot stay awake all day in special positions.
Actually, I backtrack on that. I think it would be a bear scratching, not deer antlers.
Monitoring the area for everything from hunting opportunities to intruders. It's a theory he prefers to keep to himself. Sasquatch advocates worldwide are a secretive, often exclusive group of people.
Just go backwards a bit. I want to see, what did I say there? I'm backing it up. Okay.
That certain Bigfoot stay awake all day in special positions, monitoring the area for everything from hunting opportunities to intruders. It's a theory he prefers to keep to himself. Sasquatch advocates worldwide are a secretive, often exclusive group of people withholding their information, and this doesn't help with their cause in convincing the skeptics.
So, and then on the other hand, again, assuming an intelligent species, the concept of a Sasquatch being in a protective position of its, I'll call it a clan, you know, by remaining aloof or remaining alert during the day, it makes sense. You know, the concept of it makes sense anyway. If they're a nocturnal species, regardless of what you think of them, their intelligence has to be such that they're able to remain secretive and undiscovered. Then something like that concept makes sense, that they would organize themselves.
As I break away from Todd at the top of the hill, I start to feel the hair stand up on the back of my neck.
Uh-oh. I'm getting that feeling. I'm getting that creepy feeling. See, I see a clearing up ahead, and it's just compelling as all get out to keep walking.
But, you know, the hair up on the back of my neck feeling, that is not something that, I'm out in the woods every single day. And that's not something that happens every single day. It happens, you know, 3 times, twice in a year. So for me saying, oh man, I got this feeling that something was watching me, you know, again, it's not like I'm going to sit around and go, yeah, it happens all the time I'm out there. So that's important to note.
Oh, but I got that feeling. Weird feeling. Oh my.
At the top of a remote hill in Alberta, Canada, I search.
And it could just mean that a bear is watching me, or a deer,
At the top.
or a squirrel. Although it wouldn't be something that's not a predator, because I think that's the pheromonal reaction. Perhaps it's pheromonal. You've got to be careful when you just throw this stuff out there. You can't just say this crap. But whatever's going on, I think it would be more likely to be a connection to a predator or something that could subdue me, let's say, rather than you know, a squirrel or a rabbit.
A Sasquatch. But what I find far from civilization is a helicopter landing pad.
This whole area has been cut. You know what this is? I know what this is. This was once cut here, so if there's a fire, or if there was a fire here a long time ago, drop in the firefighters right here. I mean, there's a
Also known as a landing zone.
sea of green over there. Just a sea of green.
Out there, in that vast valley of trees worth a fortune to logging companies, Todd had set out looking for signs and evidence of Bigfoot. He did find tracks, but not the big, hairy human type, just regular boot tracks. But they were extremely suspect. The season was far too early for hunters. The evidence in Todd's mind pointed to a much more military type of maneuver. And
all right, so just going to pause it there for a second. I'm going to go check the time. Hang on. Okay, I'm back. I got just enough time to listen to this story. Then I got to pause again because I got to run into town for a Zoom meeting because my Wi-Fi sucks here. Okay, enough of that. Here we go. Here's the story.
And for the first time in my searching, I hear evidence of a sinister conspiracy unfolding. Todd finally opens up to me about what he thinks may have led to this area having all the Sasquatch activity brought to a halt. And it's a disturbing story.
I found a set of 5 tracks that were moving gently and lightly and spaced out in about 20 yards each away from each other. And I also found a spot where these people had spent the night, like hardcore backcountry, which really impressed me. I just thought that was cool, right? First thing I heard was that got me up out of bed was about 90 seconds of serious gunfire. Like this was multiple weapons discharging hardcore. Just go, 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 go. And then dead silence. About an hour later, that's when I heard the helicopter come in. And I was up, watching, waiting, and the helicopter came in really, like we hear airplanes all the time, but this was really low. And you could see in this tree line over here, like I could hear the helicopter and there was 0 lights. And I heard it come in to where that gunfire was approximately and land. It was very clear to me that helicopter had a direction and it went straight to it and straight down. And I heard that helicopter come close, Nothing. They always have at least the red and the green light, right? Zero light whatsoever, no illumination, and it was very dark. There were clouds in the sky, so that also would help me see any kind of light. I saw nothing. So nothing when it came in and nothing when it left.
When a conspiracy is suggested, follow the money. Who would suffer the most if Bigfoot was proven to be real? Were mercenaries hired to wipe out Sasquatch? It seems the pieces of the puzzle have a dark side.
All right, that's a good spot to pause it at. In the new film, The Question of Bigfoot, I will definitely be approaching the subject matter of cover-up. Not conspiracy theory, just better if you just say cover-up. But this is an important part of the story, actually. I'll be seeking to really create the layers of the story that are the most important to it, that explain the most to you. Okay, right now, I got to run to town. In your time, it'll be in a few seconds. In my time, it'll be in a couple hours. Talk soon. And there we are. Okay, we go. Hey. Oh, we're all back here, and I got my pup friend with me now. And that's the little one. That's River. Soaking wet from the rain, and I am back. Let's continue on with this. I think I'm all set up. Oh, and I know I said I'm actually like staying mostly and pretty much dry this whole year, really moving forward, as a matter of fact. Then again, someone offered me this, and so I thought I'd try this out. It's not going to focus, so I don't care. It's called Crux Stroud. It's stout. It's okay. My favorite, still, if you haven't ever tried it, if you happen to like Guinness or chocolate stouts or whatever, my favorite is still Rogue Ale's Nitro Stout, Nitro Chocolate Stout. That's still my favorite. I did try this new sort of Guinness wannabe beer. I think it's called O'Malley's up in Canada, in Ontario, and it was delicious. All right, let's just keep going.
A rock face has caught my attention, and I'm determined to get us out there for a look for caves.
We went up, we climbed this ridge here. There's the helicopter pad. There's the rocks. Right there. My contention is the best thing today is there's your trail there, sharp right turn, all the way up to there, and do our little hike up. It's right there.
Todd has spent the majority of his time out here alone, hiking, sitting, listening, and watching. So my presence here creates a change of operation. This is not the kind of pursuit that should be undertaken alone, without a high degree of survival skill.
But this trail's like so many other trails. You go into the thick of the forest, there's no tree breaks, no structures. And then you come along on this trail, tree break, structure, structure. Really interesting.
Most eyewitnesses treat Sasquatch in a subjective manner. So if it is treated as a fact, it would be important to seek an explanation for it.
You know, I want to comment on what I was just commenting on, and that is what I was saying there, because it didn't sound as clear to me this time, is that if there were no broken trees, no marked trees, no bent trees, nothing, until we came to where there was a trail section. And you say, oh, well, that's people using the trails. But these were trees that, they were not broken in ways that humans would break them, and not placed in ways that humans would place them. And that's the thing that, you know, it just all starts to become quite interesting.
Truth is all that matters when it comes to this phenomenon.
Right.
Personal agendas must be set aside to get to the truth. Science dictates the need for statistics, reliability, repeatability, and proof. But that approach is limiting for an elusive phenomenon.
Well, I'm at the rocks. Let's go exploring. Well, it's a smooth rock, but I don't really see any caves of any sort. I'm looking to find a big cave and have that real creepy feeling. Maybe even the stench everybody talks about.
One thing about me and caves, if there's anything that does make me nervous out in the wilderness, is actually finding caves. It's just kind of creepy. It's the only way to put it.
Remember, in a situation like this, that it's all based on assumption.
Amazing.
Why are we even assuming they live in caves? Who decided this?
In The Question of Bigfoot, the new film that I'm producing this year, I'm really going to dig into where it's possible for Sasquatch to live, to carry out their lives, to exist, to sleep, to huddle in, or what do they build. I'm going to really dig into that. And again, as always, try to get to the real bottom of things.
Well, this suffices as an overhang, but not quite a cave. And the wind is going to bombard you here anyway. Great vantage point, but not so protective. Keep getting a pungent smell every once in a while.
As zealous and controversial as Todd can be, you have to give him one thing that many critics don't have: the confidence and skill set to hike alone and up mountains in remote wilderness areas.
If anything, that's something that I really look forward to. I was saying to some friends and that, you know, a big attraction to me in terms of the, you know, doing this film, doing the Question of Bigfoot film, is let's get back out in the bush again. You know, just get out there. And it's the kind of interest that forces you to go off into, you know, real remote places. I mean, you don't have to. That's something else that we'll deal with a lot is do you have to go off to these remote places to invoke some kind of interaction? The short answer is no, you don't. But for me, that's half the fun.
Sometimes what you're looking for is close to the road. Sometimes it requires a bit more effort. This is when stuff starts getting a little interesting for me.
In the remote foothills of Alberta, Canada, I'm hiking my way through the wilderness with Todd standing in search for what he claims is evidence of Sasquatch. Unlike unicorns and fairies, Bigfoot are said to scream in the night, throw rocks at people, come into view on trails, and leave footprints and hair samples.
I got Scat. All I really smell is, you know, animal. You know, like a fur bearer. I smell fur. So the best thing here would be to find some hair, large hair, long hair. And the scat that's here, it's a pretty large piece of poop for this little hole. And there's lots of little tiny bits of scat, but to have a big chunk like that, that's out of place. There's also a bit of an overhang up here on top of this. So one little cave, smaller animal cave, but with a very curious big piece of scat in it. I'm gonna take that back and get it tested. It'll probably prove out to be a bear or a cougar, but it's unbelievable. What we'll do now is come up this high with the very peak of land. I mean, look at this view.
Not sure if I answer it here, but I don't think we ever did get it tested. One of the disappointments in doing the series Survivorman Bigfoot is when there was some hair samples or scat samples, is we never were able to really follow through and get things tested. You know, dealing with the question of DNA in the new film, The Question of Bigfoot, you know, I'm definitely going to take that serious. I don't want to just do it for camera and walk away. If there's something found or someone's got hair presented or something, we're absolutely going to get it to proper scientists and laboratories. Let's figure out what it is. Oh, it's a cougar. Oh, it's it's a bear, whatever. But let's know.
Head down. Walk back all the way along the bottom of this, looking up for caves. I can't blame Todd for his enthusiasm. This is a man who has claimed to have seen them face to face more than once. He claims that his film footage is real. I mean, take a look at it.
And there we go. Hey, this is the famous footage. Todd has taken so much slack for this footage. Do I need to go into a big thing now, explanation about it? This is the one that Joe Rogan hit me up on, and of course it was just too late at night, and I've been out partying with Joe, so I was not didn't have the articulation to fight back, but and he just laughed. He just couldn't handle it. Look, I get it. If you look at this, and it kind of almost depends on who's in the room with you, but if you look at something like this, and your bros are around you, and everybody just wants to make fun of it, that's real easy. Easy thing. This looks stupid, man. Tell me that's not a guy in a suit. That's the line right there. Tell me that's not a guy in a suit, man. This is bullshit. That's the attitude. That's the line. You get no comeback to stuff like that. Now, look, I'm not saying that Todd never proved to me that this was real. Didn't give me the proof I needed. But I could not prove that this footage was doctored or faked in some way. I cannot prove that he just didn't have some sort of, makeup thing there. Someone said to me recently, well, who didn't like Todd Standing, said, yeah, well, his wife was a makeup artist, man. No. She was, and I think they've parted since, and it's none of my business. She was a hairdresser. She wasn't a makeup artist from Hollywood. It's just that crap gets out there. I know her. I know her personally. I've met her several times. And she was a hairdresser. That's it. And so, yeah, maybe she did like women's makeup. But so let's get that off there. And yeah, Todd, that is in defense of that particular criticism. It's a dumb criticism. It's the same sort of, when you deal with, for example, people talking about, I was the guy in the suit for the Patty film, the Roger Patterson, Bob Gimlin film of 1967. Yeah, I think it was 1967. By the way, that film footage of Patty, the classic footage that you all know of, was shot on my birthday. I think I would have been 6 years old. So I think it was after that. But in any event, October 20th, in the late 60s, same thing. People came forward. I was the person in the suit. And they don't show the suit. It's gone now. Oh, I sold it. It lost. Same thing here. You can look at this and say, so same thing when you say, his wife was a specialized Hollywood makeup artist. No, she wasn't. So you look at this, and here's the problem. If it's fake, it's fake. There's nothing we can do about that. And a lot of people like to just hang on, it's all fake. But if it's not fake, let's just go with me on that. If it's not fake, then that footage is better than the original Roger Patterson footage. It's insanely amazing. You're looking at the faces of Bigfoot right there. And that's what makes it so hard to believe, because this is what everybody's looking for. This guy standing comes up with it, shows it, and then nobody wants to believe, they just want to believe it's a fake. And so you get caught between a rock and a hard place. This guy standing and many others, they're caught between a rock and a hard place. If they have footage that looks better than the Patterson-Gimlin film, then people are just going to call it a fake, as almost like an allegiance to that original film. So I don't know. I haven't got a clue. Can you get a little high and giggle and say it looks really silly and stupid and chuckle and laugh like Rogan did? Sure. Can you stare at it and go, well, hang on a second, like, you know, there's no reason why they have to look alike, and holy crap, you know, you can do that too. So I'm not standing in defense of this footage. I don't know. And Todd will probably take to his deathbed the knowledge of whether or not this is absolutely real or faked. I would assume that only he, and potentially his family, knows. But nonetheless, on the odds that it's real, holy crap. You know, in fact, while I've been talking here, Luke, I hope you brought it up, you know, and show them the close-up of this, because, again, it's a big holy crap moment. And let's watch further then. I'll stop talking.
If that's real, and Todd claims that it is, then that's a pretty powerful thing to see.
And people, you know, grab that image from the left when it does the blink and say, oh, it looks very mechanical. I mean, what's it supposed to look like? I mean, the one on the right, oh, it looks like an Ewok, you know, and well, what are they supposed to look like? What do you got to compare? Nothing, just blob squatches, which is the term given to blurry footage. I mean, this footage actually isn't blurry. Now, what was my problem with this when I confronted Todd on this? It was, I want to see the footage that came before it and after it. I need to see all kinds of shaky, crazy footage that came before it and after it. And Todd did not produce that for me. And I got, like, I didn't get the cards. I got the hard drive that he keeps this stuff on. And so great. And, you know, analyzing it as we could as filmmakers, can't prove that this stuff's fake in any way, shape, or form. Maybe it's someone in a costume. Well, we can't prove that it isn't. But unfortunately for Todd, he can't prove that it is. Or sorry, for the skeptics, they can't prove that it is. And Todd just can't prove that it isn't. So you've got to go on word. So all I'm doing here is saying, look, this is the footage this guy has. And I come back to, if it's fake, whatever. Nothing we can do about that. I have friends who've made fake footage, and to this day, people think it's real. In this situation, if it's fake, it's fake. But if it's real, then holy crap, it's literally the best footage there is. And people who maybe have met Todd and maybe they've decided they don't like him, they don't want to believe it. And we all do that. If we've got people we don't like, now nothing they can do will please us. Like, yeah, it's all a bunch of bullshit. You know, I don't like that guy, or whatever the case is. So I'm not here to defend him or this footage. But regardless of what people in the industry, the Bigfoot industry, that are into all of that, regardless of what they think about the guy who created this, who presented this film footage, if he's telling the truth, then it's a big holy crap moment now, isn't it? And that's the thing. That's why in all of this, I've never come out and really just, you know, damned Mr. Standing, because I don't have the proof to do so. When I do, I will. And if I have the proof to show that what he's got is absolutely real, undeniable, I would say that too. All I can do is look at it and go, okay, dude, you say this is what you shot and it's real? Okay. Can I come up with a lot of suspicions as to why I think it's fake? Sure. I don't know.
One thing's for sure. Whatever it is, if it exists, and it lives out here, it's my kind of dude.
With hair and feces samples collected, I'm making my way back down the hill, and suddenly I'm stopped in my tracks by what is becoming a familiar sound.
Okay. There we have it again. Now, probably too much noise and too much action to have caught it. There's a camera on my back that's recording right now, but I didn't have this camera on. As we were coming down the hill from the rock, I heard kind of like that, only a little bit lower in pitch, which, sure, could be anything, but it's the same whoop that Todd has been hearing every night that he figures there's a juvenile coming around. So we're going to sit and wait for a bit, see if there's anything else.
And you got to be real careful about that. And that's one of the problems with different individuals, is they become so zealous that you're out there. Every branch crack, every hoop and chirp is, oh, it's a Bigfoot. And you say, well, that sounds like a bird. They imitate birds. You know, and you're sort of, you're stuck with it. I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to say something else. Oh, well.
I know all of this must seem rather silly, but I clearly heard a hoop over here. And as I sit here, there's little sounds going on in the bush over there. Right now, there's no wind. The bush is completely still here. I started walking, and hoop.
Now someone's going to say, yeah, Todd was doing that, man. No, Todd was close enough. I knew it wasn't him. You know, I realized what it was I wanted to say. That I got to give kudos to rest in peace Scott Carpenter for the camera on the back thing, and it's just that you film behind yourself. You know, so often you say, oh, something ran behind me, kind of thing. Well, leave a GoPro stuck on your back, always filming wherever you're walking. You got to analyze that footage later, which sucks, but that's okay. I'll just get the assistant editor to do it.
And I hear little sort of nuzzles of sound all up in that area. You never know.
So you know what's interesting here is this doing it like, it really becomes the subtleties of what you're hearing and seeing and experiencing when you're out there. And if you have spent enough time in nature as I have, you're very familiar with a lot of the different sounds and things that are going on, and you know that's a bird, you know that's a this and that's a that. You just become really comfortable with it. So it gets really cool when you experience or hear something that is out of keeping with what you know, when you become very experienced in the wilderness. And that's what I did through this whole series. I had my antenna on, like, okay, let's see what else, you know, what have I not been hearing, sort of thing. And sure enough, when I was engaged in these places that are supposed to be hot spots and all that stuff going on, there would be things I would hear and experience that I would not hear other times in other areas that are not supposed to be, you know, where you're going to find them, sort of thing. So, who knows?
So my search continues. And with each expedition, it feels like I'm one step closer to the truth. Yet who am I to place myself as judge and jury over whether or not an elusive phenomenon exists for real, or only in the mind? But that is what I'm doing. And in my search for truth, I won't favor the advocates, nor the skeptics. Neither will I put science first, or philosophy, spirituality, or biology. Piece by piece, the contoured edges of the puzzle components begin to fit together, revealing to all who are sane the real picture, the truth of Sasquatch.
Interesting. So, yeah, there you go. Interesting. Just looking at the names and all the credits and that. Forgot about George Catapan. Makes incredible music, and George did a ton of music for me over the years, on all of my different series. But all right, so there you go. That's the that's that one, and I've got two more yet to do. I believe that is the last one with a one Mr. Todd Stanning, and the next one is this next one will have John Bindernagel, rest in peace, in it, along with Jeff Meldrum. It's one we ended up calling The Hidden World, but also Sonia Zohar, rest in peace, will be in that one. And Randy Breeson, we go up into Canada, we go down to Texas, we do a few things. So I'll get to doing that one right away, and I'll see you on the next one. Well. Back to the bush.
Overcome by their trances, they seek the wisdom of the ancients. They look to the ancestors among the stars, and they ask for guidance on how to survive. For the whole earth bleeds when people cry, but the earth can heal